Hello and welcome to the Success Secret podcast with your host Hussein Talib. I am excited to introduce you to a series of conversations with some of the most successful and inspiring individuals from various industries. My aim is to dive into the stories behind their success and explore the knowledge, strategies, habits, mindsets, and wisdom that have propelled their success. Each episode of the Success Secret podcast will feature a different guest who will share their unique journey, the challenges they faced, and the lessons they have learned along the way. I will also be covering topics from entrepreneurship and innovation to leadership and personal development. Whether you are an inspiring entrepreneur, a seasoned business professional, or just someone looking to improve your life, the Success Secret podcast is for you. My goal is to bring you valuable insights and inspiration that will help you achieve your own success in business and life. So get ready to learn and be inspired. The Success Secret podcast starts now. I am joined with Tina Lopez to talk about the essential steps to building an automated creator business and to how leverage these kind of things and collaboration into building your email list more and more. So Tina helps content creators automate their content, traffic, and income with no code, affiliate marketing, and email marketing. Tina, welcome to this episode of the Success Secret podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. Happy to be here.
Because you are into creator economy and you are helping other people, what do success means to you and what do you see other people define success as?
So, what does success mean to me? I have actually two missions in life. The first one is actually to help, businesses, individuals, entrepreneurs build generational wealth through online business. The second mission that I have is to help those same entrepreneurs be able to have the time to enjoy that wealth, because I feel like a lot of times what I see a lot in, the creator space, but just in entrepreneurship in general, is that people talk a lot about money, and they see that as a sign of success, which it is. But what people don't see the behind the scenes is the booked out calendar, the back to back calls, the stress, the mental load of waking up and going to bed thinking about your business. And that's not the way that I like to run my business personally. And so it's my mission to help those same entrepreneurs actually realize that you can enjoy wealth, but also have the free time to live your life on your own terms.
Usually, I know that like all of us think of that the creator economy now is very personal and it's very important to be authentic in it. So, in your own experience, how did you start with that? Can you give us a little of a story or a glimpse on how you started writing on Medium, how you started being a content creator? Did you see the content creators and thought to yourself, this is what I want to do?
Actually, no. With content creation, I actually did not want to do content creation for a long time. It's interesting because when you think of creators, they usually take the path of content creation and then maybe courses and then coaching, and then, they get more of a booked out calendar as they progress in the career. But for me, it was the complete opposite. So I actually started in the online space as an online coach. So I was helping, as a business coach, I was helping life coaches, mindset coaches, people within that space really build their online business. And so it was the first time where I was really helping them like on a one-on-one setting of getting clients, making the first $10,000, getting the first clients. And it was very fulfilling to really be able to see these businesses grow, and I was able to help them. However, what people tell you is that like they always say like, start coaching because you'll make a ton of money. I did make a ton of money from coaching, but what they don't tell you is the behind the scenes aspect. And I alluded to this earlier of like I did have the back-to-back sales calls. And I feel like a lot of people say sales calls and having a booked out calendar is like a dream, but for me it's not a dream, it's a nightmare, because I had to deal with the content creation piece, the marketing, the customer support, the client delivery, the actual like sales calls itself. And I had this type of business model at the time where like if I only made money when I signed clients. So if I didn't sign clients, then I didn't make money. And so every month I'm wondering like, when am I going to get my next client? And it's actually ironic how I got into content creation, because I always call it my dark day, where the reason why I say it's ironic is because I actually made the most amount of money I've ever had in my business and at that coaching business at the time. And I realized like, what got me here was actually working less. But for some reason, when I made so much more money than I've ever seen before, I thought to myself like, oh, I need to work harder, when I didn't credit the fact that what got me to that success was working less. And so I went on overdrive where I worked, I pushed myself so much. I literally had 20 back-to-back sales calls and every single one of them had said no. And I was thinking to myself like that doesn't seem right. Like I know how to close sales. I've closed over six figures in sales. Like I know how to do this. So what's going on here? And I actually had a coach at the time who asked me, she's like, do you think you're burnt out? And I was like, what is that? Like I didn't even know what the term meant. I just knew that I had this feeling. And so as she was describing it to me, I was like, yeah, I feel like that is what I'm experiencing. And so I decided to take a 4-month mental health sabbatical, and I just didn't take in any clients, just finished the contracts that I had. And I kind of had this point where, like, I want to go back to online business, but I don't want to go back in the same way. And so, bringing it back to those two missions of like, how do I, you know, teach people how to create generational wealth through online business? But how do I do that in a way where I'm not being burnt out? And so that's where I stumbled upon Medium, where I thought you could get paid to write on the platform. You can actually, create and deliver knowledge at scale because you have the internet. The blog runs 24/7, so it can have an evergreen aspect of it, meaning that people can access it 24/7, 365 days a year. And that's where I was like, ooh, that's my golden ticket. That's my opportunity where content creation allows me to teach people at scale, but it also allows me the availability to have a free calendar, to not have any client calls, to not have any coaching calls, to not have any sales calls. I also don't have a team. It's really just me. And like, I kind of realized to myself, like, okay, I love content creation, but I want to be able to not have the headaches of content creation, of having, like there's this term of like you need to create content every day or you need to write posts, you need to post every day. And I think that's bullshit, right? Because like I've been able to build a successful creator business without doing any of those things. And I've just realized like it took me 3 years to build an automated creator business. And, that is truly because I had to start with my non-negotiables of like, I don't want to have a booked out calendar. I want it to be completely automated. And I want to be able to take a month off from my business, which I did last year, and still be able to make money in my business. And so that's why I'm here to tell you guys a little bit about that whole journey.
Oh, cool. So you mentioned that Medium, talked about social media, and you mentioned Medium. It pays people who write there and create content there. I didn't know that existed there, that platform. Yeah, so this is one thing of it, right? So another thing is you when you talked about social media, you talked about that you didn't like to create social media or posts every day, which is actually exhausting. I know that from experience, and it's not really that much useful unless like your posts go like I don't want to say viral, but gets tons of views because it's hard to
Hmm.
get these if you are not having certain type of things, and sometimes it gets frustrating not to get the views this which
Hmm.
is very important. It's not if I am talking for example about YouTube, the views are more important than the subscribers because no matter how much subscribers you have on YouTube, it does not matter if they are not watching the videos. So views are more important. So how do you approach this? Like, are you now focused completely on Medium, and do you think this is something that's very important, and you encourage all creators to focus on one type of thing and not being here and there?
So it's actually funny. I'm on Medium because I love the platform. But I think it even goes like take it a step back, right? So there's two focuses that I always ask creators. Like, is your goal to build a brand or is your goal to make money? Because if you like seriously, like there are very two different activities, right? There are different routes in terms of like if you want to build a brand, yes, post on social media every day, write on Medium every day, do all the things for you to get followers, likes, comments, engagement, all those things. But at the end of the day, like if you want to go viral on the platform, then yes, you're gonna build a brand, but I will honestly say I've gone viral. It's made me some money, but like it's not sustainable, right? Virality is not a strategy, in my opinion. And so if your goal is to make money, then I'm gonna take you through a different route where like it's actually like surprisingly like when I looked at the data, because I did like a quarterly recap. And I looked at the data to see where all my leads are coming from, to see like where the money's coming from in my business. And surprisingly, like social media was like the bottom of the list in terms of it yielded the lowest return on email subscribers, leads, and actually cash. What yielded the highest return on, cash and leads was actually building my email list. And that was, when we think about building the email list, it's like, people think to themselves like, oh, if I want to build an email, then I just need to create more content. Well, not necessarily, right? So if you want to build leads in your business, you want to build your email subscriber base, then I'm going to highly encourage you to focus on collaborations, specifically collaborations at scale. And what that looks like for me is doing it in the form of freebie swaps, bundles, reaching out to people and saying, like, hey, can I promote my freebie to your list? So on and so forth. And we do it vice versa. And, that has been the highest return, not only on time, but it has been the highest return on email subscribers that I get in return of that, right? And so what I can see is that like 90% of my email subscribers are coming through collaborations. And when I think about the time aspect of actually being involved in collaboration, max it takes an hour a month to be involved in a collaboration. But if I can get over 400 email subscribers on an hour, then that's worth my time versus spending an hour creating content to build a brand that doesn't pay my bills, right?
I can relate. Like social media, if you are especially like if you're talking social media, Twitter or Facebook, the post lives there at maximum 24 hours. So it's not a long
Mm-hmm.
time and barely anyone sees it in general. So not to mention that they have to click, they have to go to the website, they have to actually opt in for the freebie or the free course or whatever it is. So we're talking here about a fraction of the people who are, for example, following someone on social media, in contrast to the collaboration type, which is I actually did 2 summits back in November and in December,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, there is a difference. But there is a ton of work. Like from my side at least, because I was the host, for example, there was a lot of work from that side. But as
Mm-hmm.
far as when you are, let's say, maybe the side of the guest, that could be different. And collaboration in general is, especially when it is, I would say, like aligned collaborations, like you could have collaborations in with everyone, but
Mm-hmm.
I would say better collaboration with aligned people or aligned entrepreneurs or business owners that are in the same kind of atmosphere or same type of audience, let's say, which is, I think, maybe I believe it's better because you would know more what type of people that you would get into your business or your basically email list, and you would know that what you are offering them is something that they are going to accept to develop more in their business or their lives.
Yeah, and even like, so let me kind of like walk you through about that. You mentioned this a little bit about like having aligned, like the collaborations being aligned with your business, right? Like, so for me, like, I only collaborate with individuals that serve the same niche as me. So I serve creators of the creator economy. Course creators and coaches kind of tend to sometimes fall in that bag of categories as well. And so like it just realistically, if I'm going to do a collaboration with somebody, like, yes, I want it to work well with me, but I also want it to work well with the person that I'm collaborating with, right? So, for example, if I'm doing a freebie swap and basically the context of a freebie swap is like, say, for example, I promote my freebie to your list and you promote your freebie to my list, then we both get exposure to each other's audiences and the audience, itself gets something for free, right? So it's a win-win scenario for all parties. But like at the end of the day, like if I, promote my content database freebie, for example, to someone who sells charcuterie boards, like that doesn't make sense, right? And it's not going to convert well for them. It's not going to convert well for me. But also, like at the end of the day, like it's like you want to have the best return on your time. Like don't invest your time on activities or on collaborations that don't align with your mission, who you serve, and ultimately like the niche that you're in.
Now, in your opinion, what is the best way to go about that? Like, as I mentioned, I did summits and you mentioned
Mhm.
the freebies. Do you think the type of people who would like opt in for the freebies is a good idea, or do you think that it's about building a relationship with them for the long term and not
Mhm.
immediately hitting them with offers to get the sales?
So yeah, that's actually an interesting thing. It's you're asking the question of like what is the balance between value versus sales, right?
Yeah.
And when we think about this, like you still need a freebie in some element to get people to join your list, right? And so I like to think of this as like a funnel, right? Like all of my content, because I'm a content creator, I still create content. I don't spend a ton of time on the platform, but like content is being posted and scheduled on my behalf, right? Like when I create content, my only call to action truly is just to join my email list. And that could be in the form of grab this freebie, or everything like that. That is value that I'm giving to my audience in the form of like my content itself, but also I'm directing them to a value add, which is the freebie itself, right? And so, like, those are two touch points that I already have where I'm giving value. Now, the goal of like what I do my selling, majority of my selling is actually via my email list. I don't really sell through content directly, right? Because with my email list, like I can follow up with them, I can engage with them, I can build that relationship further, right? So when I think about building a relationship via my email list, I'm thinking of like, okay, like how can I give them even further value in the form of maybe I want to give them more freebies, maybe I want to give them like exclusive trainings or resources or, content that is not publicly shared anywhere else, right? And so I do that, within my email list, but I also tell my subscribers from the beginning, like literally as I call it like email zero, where I'm walking them through the expectations of joining my email list. Like I say to them, hey, like I will give you value, but I also will be promoting my offers, my services, my products because I do think that they are of value. But also at the end of the day, like I'm a small business and I fully expect you to do the same for your own audience as well. So I'm leading by example. But basically, the way that I mix it up is like I'll have like a freebie, some value add emails, and then I'll do like a single promotion for a specific offer. And then I'll just repeat the cycle from that point on.
So now, do you think how important it is, like what you're generally talking about? Medium is a written word platform. Email marketing is a written word platform, basically. So how important is it for content creators to actually learn about writing and copywriting? Do you think this is, I would believe, something that is essential for every content creator to learn about? Not mentioning that if you post on social media, there is also some copywriting there.
I mean, writing and copywriting is literally the backbone of any type of content, right? Like if you are doing podcasting or YouTubing or any type of other form of content, like you need some type of writing and like that can go from the form of like outlining to direct response copywriting of like you want to directly talk to your ideal client, right? Like writing is essential. But I think what's even more essential beyond writing is like understanding who you are even writing for, right? Who are you writing to? If you don't have a good grasp of the person that you're writing to, then it's going to make it very hard for you even to create content to begin with, right? And so if you want to have a good understanding of who you're writing to, you want to understand like what are the pain points? What are the transformations that they're truly seeking? What are the things that they keep them up at night? What is the first thing that they think about when they wake up? Right? And of the time, your ideal client might be a previous version of who you are currently, right? So for example, like for me, like I know content creators struggle with creating content because like, you post something on social media and it goes to a black hole, right? I know that's something that like they spend hours creating and it just sucks. Like as much as you're a content creator, I feel like secretly there's part of you that maybe like doesn't like social media. And so I know that's a pain point that they struggle with. I know that because I used to be that person. I used to be that person as a previous version of me who had that same struggle and that experience, right? So because I understand completely that person's struggle because they're a prior version of me, I did create an offer where I know you're someone who doesn't who feels like there's content is going down a social media black hole, but if you're someone who wants to get your time back but automates your content creation, then maybe you might want to check out this daily content generator that's $9, right? That I created that's helping you, right? Because it helped me. And if I know it helped me, then I know it's going to help a prior version of me as well.
That's definitely true. It's always good to learn not from the extreme experts. I would say it's good to learn from people who are one or two or three steps ahead of you that would feel more relatable, I guess, right?
Mhm.
When you speak about the gurus, so they are way beyond what you are want to be, which is good to learn more about people and what they do and their opinions, but it would feel closer to maybe someone who's 3 steps ahead of you instead of 100 steps ahead of you. So
Mm.
that's very important. So now, can we put the, let's say, the steps building an automated creator business into 1, 2, 3 overview and give a bit of each one of them?
So I kind of like to think of this as my three pillars, right? So when it comes to creating an automated content business, the first thing, as the term says, is like, okay, you're a content creator. One of the things that takes majority of your time, which probably has the lowest return on your time, is content creation, which is ridiculous because you would think otherwise. But like what I mean by content creation, I mean like posting on social media just for the sake of posting social media. If you don't have a reason behind it, then I don't think it's necessarily the best use of your time, right? So how do I automate the brand building, which is the posting of social media? Well, I leverage AI and automation. I do legitimately have my daily content generator. I'm not trying to sell it to you, but what I'm trying to say is that what I have in my business is this $9 automation, this workflow, right? And literally what it does is like I have a whole library of content. This automation randomly pulls a piece of my content and spins it out on social media for Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, all these different platforms for me so that I can take advantage of the brand building aspect that social media allows me to do, right? I can grow my own audience. I can grow my traffic, but I'm also automating my traffic because I created content once, but I let AI and automation via this workflow do it for me, right? So my biggest thing is if you're a content creator, you want to transition to an automated content business, automate your content creation. Now, the second aspect of, creating an automated content business is really talking about what does it look like to automate my lead gen, right? Now, automating lead gen is a little bit harder than what you may think. Some people think that like you need to invest in ads. I think it's great to invest in ads if you are ready to invest in ads. For me personally, like I don't invest in ads because it's not something that I know how to do, but it's not something that I really want to do, right? And so I asked myself, how can I get ad level reach but for free, right? And so when you think about ads, like what is like the whole premise of them? Well, the premise of ads is literally it's a pay to play way to access an audience, right? So I'm thinking to myself like, okay, how can I access an audience the same way that you would with ads, but for free? And that's when we get into collaborations of freebie swaps, bundles, summits, all those types of collaboration opportunities where I'm literally spending max an hour of my time pitching it myself to people, applying to bundles, all those things, so that I can get the highest return on time. And so, yes, it's not completely automated, but like the fact that like it's taking an hour worth of my time a month versus 10, 20 plus hours creating content that just goes down a social media black hole is worth it to me, right? And so the last piece is conversions. And I'm really leaning on email marketing. I'm leaning on funnels where I'm thinking about like, okay, I'm driving all this traffic. I'm driving people to my email list. How can I drive people to either purchase my courses or purchase, affiliate recommendation that I have and, have that kind of mixture of both value, but also, sell to my audience because I am a small business. I am someone who does make money and needs to make money. I think anybody does, right? And so I automate my selling via email marketing and via funnels.
So now, speaking of, let's say, conversion, which is the very important thing, and funnels. Conversion, let's talk about conversion a little bit. What do you think is the best way to convert people in an online environment? Do you think it's video?
I don't necessarily think it's about the content format. I think it's really about the steps that people are taking to even be going into like so conversion goes in a lot of different ways, right? Like there's multiple conversion points, right? So you have the first touch point of people need to even like your content, right? So that like, getting a follower, I would say is the first conversion piece, right? It doesn't necessarily need to be video or any type of specific content format. I would say like honestly, like choose the format that works best for you. For me, like I love writing because it's very like meta, it's very like simple. All I have to do is just sit down on a keyboard and write. But if it's for YouTube, then like I need like a really nice camera, a really nice mic. Like it's just like too many steps for me personally, right? I like writing because it works well for me. You might not like writing, and that's fine. But the first conversion would be like getting a follower, right? The second conversion would be getting people to join my email list. The third conversion would be to have people buy one of my products, right? The fourth conversion is once when they buy my products, can I upsell, a product of mine? Can I downsell a product of mine, right? So there's all these layers of conversions, but what happens in between them? What happens in between them is I give value in the form of content. I give value in the form of freebies. I give value in the form of emails. I give value in the form of product recommendations. And then ultimately, I'm not only building a relationship, but I'm building the conversion conversation as you go further down my world of Tina.
I think I got some freebie from you. I'm not sure. I think it's from you. It's like a Facebook groups collection, something like that. A list of Facebook groups that contains the Facebook groups and show you some kind of how the best groups to interact with.
Yes, there is that freebie of mine, but I do have other freebies in the forms of content database freebies as well as a welcome email template. There's different ways that you can leverage freebies.
Yeah, so this one that I am talking about, can you tell us a little bit about it and your initial thoughts about it and how it will help someone who might get it?
Yeah, so when it comes to Facebook groups, I think that specific freebie would help someone because then they can realize like they could do some market research in Facebook groups. You could do market research in Facebook groups of like who is it that you want to target, but also you can leverage Facebook groups to do kind of like promotion, right? So some Facebook groups allow you to promote your business, right? And so if you are allowed to promote your business, then you're able to actually, get the reach and the engagement and the audience exposure to the Facebook group, right? So make sure you're obviously doing it within the rules and within the scheduled timeframes, but that will allow you to get further reach.
Yeah, why I'm wanted to know this because a lot of people I see that what kind of freebie should I do? What should I do? Is it PDF, video calls, whatever? Like what you are doing, you got something that already existed, and you put it in a way that is kind of useful to people who to get it. So
Mm.
you didn't basically create it from scratch. It was already kind of there, but you utilize it in a different way. So I think this is a good and creative way to do, let's say, freebies for an opt-in to get the leads and this type of something that people would actually want to let's say shortcut things like instead of
Mhm.
for example me going to every Facebook group and search myself. You would have this type of thing, so I would also say to people and encourage to you would listen. You can think of creative ways to kind of speaking of bundles, kind of bundle things together that you can actually do and you are permitted to do in a way that would be useful to people, which is very important.
Yes, absolutely. Like, I think when it comes to freebies, like, you definitely want to help your audience in the sense of, like, how can I, the biggest ways that you can help people is how do I teach people how to make more money or how do I teach people how to have more time, right? And so, like, making money could probably be like something that you offer as like a paid container, or you could do free. It's up to you. But I think time, honestly, is more important than money, right? So if I can create a freebie that shortens the time it takes to get to XYZ, then I think that's a huge value add because people always need more time. You can always make more money, but you can never get more time.
Definitely, definitely. So, what would you say the best resources, tools, or books that you have read that you would generally recommend to people?
Yeah, so I think the best book that I recently read that is actually very simple is Million Dollar Weekend. I have it in my bookshelf called by Noah Kagan. And then the second book that I really love is Copywriting Secrets by Jim Edwards. And then the last book that I would say is, I believe it's .com Secrets by Russell Brunson. These are kind of like three foundational books that I've really read. And another book that I could talk about actually is Who Not How by Dan Sullivan, I believe. These are really great books that I've kind of leveraged in my business, and it's kind of surprising like how much value you can get just from a simple book.
Yeah, definitely. Speaking of how much value, so what is the worst advice that you have ever received?
Ooh, the worst advice that I've ever received. I don't know if it's the advice, but I feel like it's like the general thing that I keep seeing often is like, my way is the best way, right? Like you'll see a lot of that in the entrepreneurship space of like, learn my number one secrets and how I make 10, 20, 50, 100 grand a month, whatever. And, there's probably some merit to like what they're saying, but like honestly, like their way is not the best way, at least not for you, right? And the reason why I say that is because like everybody has a way of doing things uniquely, right? Like I am the one Tina that's uniquely me in the entire world, right? You're telling me that your way is going to be perfect for me. I might like some elements that you have in your business that I want to apply to my business model, but it's not one way like my way is the only way, right? And the reason why I say this is because for a long time, even in the coaching business like that I had, like I felt like there's a lot of copycat culture in the coaching business where like people are like my way is this way and then you just kind of see like people are teaching the exact same thing but just in a different container. And I was just like, you know what? Like there is no layer of like authenticity. Like what is your unique way? Like, well, you kind of just see the same things over and over again. And so for me, like me building an automated content business, like I've literally spent 3 years building this. Is my way the best way? It is for me, but it might not be for you. And that's fine. Maybe you could take some elements of my business that you can apply to your business. Maybe you don't. But like I think people are not allowing themselves the creativity to think for themselves, but also allowing themselves the creativity to experiment, right? Like I genuinely, when I started this whole concept business, I genuinely tried to find a coach who could teach me everything that I know now. And I couldn't find someone because nobody was doing it. And so I literally had to figure out how to do this by myself. Not because I wanted to, but because I had to. And that's why I feel even remotely confident to talk about this on your podcast is because like it took me 3 years to build it and like my way is the best for me way for me. Maybe it might be good for you, maybe it might not, but at least you learn something.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. The element of not each experience or whether it's true or not, some people telling you that this is the way, the secret of whatever it is, the secret of X. It's not necessarily what's working for certain individual would actually work for the other. But
Mhm.
like you said, it could be some elements there that are useful, but we have to keep researching, well, not researching because it's actually is not taking action, but I would say planning and then taking action immediately. So plan and take action immediately. You would learn faster and you would know what is a good fit for you or not. So by taking action, that's the most important thing. But planning or sitting outside or going from A to B to Z to C to whatever it is, and ideas, it will not be helpful at all.
Mhm. Yeah.
Def- Definitely. So do you think that there's something that you would like to say as a final note, or do you think that we have missed something? Talk about something important, do you think?
I think the one thing is like if you want to build a business, make sure it's the business model that works best for you. The one thing I would also say is like if you enjoy this podcast and you want to connect with me further, then feel free to grab one of the freebies in the show notes. But you can also reach me on my email list, creatorsclub.tinalopez.com. That's where I spend majority of my time on the newsletter. But overall, like I'd be happy to chat and, continue the conversation from there.
Awesome. Well, Tina, thank you very much for joining me for this episode. The great insights, very authentic, I would say, and great subject matter that, and I would say a new, let's say, point of view of things because not everyone should like tell that this is the way. Each one should experiment, do the action, and find their own way or find their own path into things. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you.